In this video, I want to talk to you about a plugin that has taken me so many months of sleepless nights of coding and testing and coding and testing nonstop until finally I managed to wrap it. This is AB Imager, and I'm Alejandro, and we are the Audio Brewers. AB Imager is a powerful plugin that I have developed to help people working with Ambisonics recordings or sound manipulate their sound and their sonic feel in different ways. AB Imager includes a dominance control that works in higher order, an image size control, and finally an upscaler that will convert any first or second order Ambisonics to third order, giving you much more clarity and spatial awareness in your sounds. So let's get started and explore what each of the AB Imager controls can do for your Ambisonics recording. Dominance control is a well-known first-order Ambisonics type of manipulation in which you grab your first-order Ambisonics recording and you can focus the sonic energy towards any angle. There's been a lot of research in dominance control, and the limitation was that it was only available to first-order Ambisonics recordings. Well, for AB Imager, I have created a dominance control that can work in first, second, or third Ambisonics, and with it, you can literally grab the sonic sphere that is all around you and just push the energy towards any angle possible. Everything works in third order Ambisonics, so no matter if you feed it a first order Ambisonics recording, the result will be third order so that you can keep a top-notch clarity and resolution on your converted signal. It's a beautiful, beautiful tool if you want to move things around without having to get rid of sounds on the opposite side of whatever you are controlling. So let's start by exploring my project. As you can see, I have created an empty Dolby Atmos project. The project has already the standard bed created and the renderer track created. And I am also sending my renderer track to a stereo output, which is the signal that you will be listening to, because YouTube doesn't support Dolby Atmos, but here in the studio, I'm using a 714 setup. So I'll be mixing in 3 dimensions and you will be listening to the mixed down stereo file. So it's an empty project, and I'm going to start by adding a first order Ambisonics recording. So for that, let's just create a new track. And because of first order Ambisonics recording, the logical thing will be to add a first order Ambisonics track. But because AB Imager works in higher order Ambisonics, as soon as I manipulate the signal, it's just going to give me a third order Ambisonics signal. And for that, I better create a third order Ambisonics track because I want to keep the best quality possible for my manipulated file. So I'm going to create a third order Ambisonics track, and I'm going to name it music. Let me just drag a recording that I have here. So this, as you can see, has 4 channels, which means that it is a first order Ambisonics track. And when I open Nuendo's decoder and press play, you can see that it's a first order Ambisonics recording and it is being decoded to my standard bed. So now what I'm going to do is change the decoder. I'm going to insert our AB decoder in higher order because I really like its quality better. And I also like the way you can see the sound around the listener's head. You can use any decoder you want. You can use Nuendo's decoder, you can use Audio Brewers decoders, or you can use a third-party decoder. That's up to you. And finally, I'm going to insert a visualizer so that we can see the energy of the sound. For this, I'm going to insert Nuendo's visualizer. And I'm going to set the visualizer to Ambisonics so we can see how the energy behaves around us. Let me just organize things a little bit here. And so when I press play, this is how it sounds and how it looks. So first of all, you can see that it's a first order Ambisonics recording. So we only have 4 tracks here. You can see the energy going on. It's a bit loud. I'm just going to lower the volume a little bit. Just lower it 6 decibels. You can see the energy going around, and you can see the bed receiving the converted file. So let's add AB Imager before my visualizer, because any change that I do on my sound, I really want to be able to see it. So now I'm going to manipulate the dominance of my sound, and not only will you be able to hear the energy around your head, but you will be able to see it with the visualizer, and you will be able to see how the sound is being processed in higher order ambisonics as soon as I start messing with its dominance. You can control the dominance by either using the sliders or by clicking and dragging on the graphic. So as you can hear, now I have pushed this sound forward. So everything is focused in front of me. I have freed a lot of space on the other sides around me. So this is a great tool for freeing up space and for focusing the sound that you otherwise will have had distributed all around you. This is great for creating landscapes, because now that this specific sound is focused in front of me, I could, for example, add something above my head and just push it above so that everything is well defined. And so let's do that. Let's just add another sound to my landscape, and let's just push it above my head and see how it sounds. So I'm going to create a second track. Again, it's going to be in third order ambisonics, because even though my sound is going to be first order ambisonics, the imager works in higher order, so I really want to keep as best quality as possible. I'm just gonna name it above, and I'm going to drag another file that I have here. And so if we listen to this file, let me just raise the volume a bit and change the decoder to AB decoder. If we listen to the sound, it sounds like this. Let me just solo it. Okay, so there are some birds going on. And now what I'm going to do is add my imager, and I'm going to push the sound above my head. For that, I'm going to use the height control. By moving it to the left, you push everything above. So let's do that. Okay, now everything is above my head. So if I listen to the two parts combined, let me just select so that I don't forget where I am. It sounds like this. And like this, you have now a sound that is just focused forward, another sound that is focused above. Both of the sounds are still three-dimensional. I still have the feeling of the sounds around me. You just have the energy pushed in different ways so that you can really define how your landscape is gonna be looking. And finally, for the sake of experimentation, I'm going to add another file. This time it's going to be a third order ambisonics file. So let me just name it third order ambisonics. And let me just drag a recording that I have made here of a busy street. As you can see, it's got 16 channels, so it's a third order ambisonics recording. So when we listen to it, it sounds like this. Okay, I know it's a little bit out of the subject because you have the band playing and then you have the birds and now you have a street, but I really want to show you how the imager works with third order ambisonics. So I'm going to add my imager to this track. And I'm going to start messing with the dominance of the third order ambisonics, and you will be able to hear and see in the visualizer how the energy just moves towards the place I am aiming. So I'm just going to push the street a little bit to the back, just, you know, so as to have the music in front of me and then the street behind me. I don't know, just to make a bit of a realistic ambience here. So let me clarify that by doing this, I am not controlling the volume of each of the sides. For example, if I'm pushing things forward, it's not like I am lowering the volume of the back so that I can raise the volume in the back. No, what I'm doing is I'm just grabbing the whole signal and I'm just pushing it forward. So the content that was in the back still exists, but it's just pushed a little bit towards my head, and the content that was in the front still exists, but it's just pushed just more in front of me. This is what dominance control is. It's not a volume control of the sides. It's really just grabbing the energy and just pushing it towards somewhere. Now let's talk about the image size control. Just like with a stereo image control, you can control the width of a stereo signal on the left and on the right. With AB Imager, you can also control its depth to the front and to the back, or its height above and below. So you can make longer signals, wider signals, taller signals, bigger signals overall, or you can even reduce their size and make them smaller. And if you make them smaller and you want to play with the dominance control, you can just really focus them somewhere around the listener. This is a great tool if you're working with several ambisonic signals and you want to really distribute them around the listener. So continuing with the ambience that I was working with, I'm just gonna go back to the above recording and I'm going to increase its height. So let me just open the imager again and the visualizer, and let me increase its height. So not only is it focused above me, but it's going to be much, much taller. So if I press play, and now I can hear it so extremely defined above my head, it just sounds super tall. Now let's go to the Rode recording and increase its size overall. So if I press play, okay, so now it sounds much, much bigger as well. And finally, let's go to the music and let's do the contrary. I want to decrease the size of the music so that it sounds much more localized. So if I open my imager and let me just open my visualizer as well. And if I listen to the music, now this sounds much smaller, so I have to increase its volume a little bit so that it blends better with the rest of the ambience. Let me just listen to everything. And now let me talk about the most special feature in this plugin, which is the higher order Ambisonics Upscaler. The Upscaler is an algorithm that really took me so many sleepless months of coding, testing, coding, testing, coding, and testing again. And the special feature about it is that you will grab any first order or second order Ambisonics and it will automatically upscale it to third order. So it'll give you much more quality, much more directionality, and much better spatial awareness when you are working with first order Ambisonics recordings. The upscaler is automatic, meaning that if you turn it on, you don't even have to worry about it, because if a third order Ambisonics signal is passing through, it will be in standby mode. Nothing's gonna happen. The CPU is not gonna be used. And if it detects that there is a first or a second order Ambisonics signal passing through, the upscale will kick in and it will just provide a much, much clear third order Ambisonics signal. You can also turn it off if you really don't want to use it, but you can just leave it on and just let it work automatically if you want it just to always work. And to test the upscaler, I have prepared here a new project that contains different types of first order Ambisonics recordings. We are going to be exploring these recordings with and without the upscaler, and we're going to talk about the difference in the sound and how the upscale version could benefit your process. So I have created here all these first order Ambisonics tracks. They all are audio tracks, but the last one, which is an instrument track in which I have one of our libraries here that we're going to also test with our Upscaler. All these tracks are going to a third order Ambisonics group track. So I'm sending all these tracks to a third order Ambisonics group track so that I can apply the imager, and then with two different visualizers, we can see the differences in the sound. I did this to show you that the Upscaler happens automatically with whatever type of sound you input, and there's nothing that you have to do when switching from types of sounds. Like, it just works. Finally, this third order Ambisonics group track is going to my standard bed, which is a normal 712 bed, and then it's going to my renderer, which is then going to my stereo output, which is the string you are listening to. So let's go to the first Ambisonics track. If we open everything up, we have our renderer, we have the spatial imager, then we have the supervision, which is the visualizer that comes with Nuendo. And finally, I have also added another visualizer, which is the IEM visualizer. So now when you insert the spatial imager, by default, the Upscaler is enabled. And now we're going to try, listen, and see how the sounds behaves without it being upscaled and with it being upscaled. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my first sound, which is a synthetic first order ambisonic, which is just a voice going clockwise. So in first order ambisonics, it sounds and looks like this.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock.
And now for the upscaled version, all I have to do is enable the Upscaler and press play again.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock.
As you can see, there is so much more definition in the voice. Like comparing the front center part, in first order Ambisonics, it sounds and looks like this.
0,
And in third order Ambisonics, it sounds and looks like this.
0,
Let's do it again.
0, 0, 0, 0.
Likewise, if you go to another random part of the sound, in first order Ambisonics, it will sound like this.
5,
And in third order Ambisonics, it will sound like this.
5, 5, 5, 5, 5.
So as you can see, the Upscaler gives so much more detail. You can even see in the meters that the surround channels have much more definition when the sound comes in third order Ambisonics. Now let's move to my second sound, which is just a crowd. And upscaled, it will sound like this. Now let's do an A-B comparison between first and third order Ambisonics. There is so much more definition here. I can actually hear how the voices have much more clarity around me. I mean, there are moments in the sounds where the upscaled version just sounds mind-blowingly better. For example, there is a little voice going on somewhere here. And if you hear in third order Ambisonics, It sounds so much more clear on the left side as opposed to a very blurry kind of on the left side type of sound. So yeah, when you're using crowds that are full of noise all around you, this will help you obtain much more clarity. Let's go to our third example, which is a musical example. There is a piece of percussion here, which has been made with our Ashe sample library and is in first order ambisonics. So in first order ambisonics, it sounds like this. And upscaled, it sounds like this. Let's do an A-B. Again, you can hear that the repeniki, which is these loud drums, sound much more defined in front of me, kind of on the right. When you listen to this in first order ambisonics, it sounds good, but when you listen to this in third order ambisonics, it sounds so much better. I mean, there is so much more definition in my three-dimensional image. Now let's go to our next example, which is a choir in a church. Let's compare the first order ambisonics version, which is the original version, and then the upscaled version. And now let's go to the upscale version. Let's do an A-B. Just like in the previous recording, you can actually listen to the voice being much more defined in front of you. I mean, the difference is huge. Let's go to our next example, which is a plane flying by. Let's go to the upscale version. Now, the difference here is huge because I can actually hear with clarity the plane above my head. If we check out an A-B comparison, you can even see that the plane is much more defined in the visualizer when the signal is upscaled. Check it out. Now let's move to another example, which is instead of something passing above our heads, is something going from the left to the right, which is cars. So here we have a recording of a car passing by in Ambisonics. Let's listen to it in first order Ambisonics. And the upscale version. I mean, in third order Ambisonics, you can even see the car passing by in the energy visualizer. It's amazing. The difference is huge. And finally, let's listen to the up mixer with a piano piece using one of our sample libraries, which is called Elegance, which is a first order Ambisonics piano. I'm using the ears microphone positions, so you will listen to the piano from a musician's perspective. So in first order Ambisonics, it will sound like this. And upscaled. Let's do an A-B. The sonic image is much more rich and defined. And the best part about this upscaler is that it's blazing fast, meaning that you can just add it in your Dolby Atmos mix and it'll work with low buffer sizes, just like the Dolby Atmos renderer required. So you don't have to upscale in a different project and then import the upscaled file to your Dolby Atmos mix. You can just work 100% directly in Dolby Atmos and everything will work just as it should. And well, that is AB Imager, and I really hope that you enjoyed this plugin as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them below, and I will try it and respond as fast as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.